Peace be upon you, and welcome to a new episode. Today, we're going to tell a story that shook all of Egypt. A story about a girl who was living her life, dreaming, building her future, and suddenly, in one moment, everything turned upside down. Imagine this with me. A regular summer day, August 8th, 2022, on a crowded street in front of Al-Zagazig Primary Court. Suddenly, a scream pierces the silence. "Help me! Have mercy on me!" A girl's voice is crying out for help, but the voice quickly fades. People start running and find a young woman, Salma Bahgat, lying at the entrance of a building called Zidane Building. Blood is flooding the ground around her, her body motionless, not moving at all. Everyone is in shock. Some are screaming, some are calling for an ambulance, and others are trying to figure out what happened. Who could do something like this to a girl like Salma, someone who was just starting her life? What could have led her to such a tragic end? Get ready, because we're about to tell a story full of details, from the very beginning all the way to the end. But before we begin, don't forget to like and share this episode so it reaches as many people as possible. And if you're someone who enjoys Indian crime stories, subscribe to the other channel to get all the latest updates. You'll find the link in the description box. Now, without getting lost in too many details, let's dive deep into our story. Salma Bahgat was a girl from the city of Abu Hamad in al-Sharqiya Governorate. She was 21 years old at the time of the crime. A girl like any other her age, full of big dreams and living life with ambition. She was a student at the Faculty of Mass Communication at Al-Sharouk Academy, and she had loved journalism ever since she was young. Salma always dreamed of becoming a successful journalist, someone who writes the truth and gives a voice to people who no one listens to. She was training at a local newspaper in Al-Zagazig, close to Al-Zagazig Primary Court, to gain experience and build a name for herself in the field. Her family, like any Egyptian family, was proud of her. Her father, according to his statements in Al-Yum al-Sabaya, always said that Salma was the hope of the family. She was a quiet girl, focused on her studies, and loved helping others. Her college friends described her as always smiling and hardworking, striving to achieve her goals. Salma wasn't just a dedicated student. She was also a strong-willed young woman. According to people who knew her, she wasn't afraid to say no when she didn't agree with something. She understood that living in a society like Al-Sharqiya and Egypt in general requires strength to achieve your dreams. She dreamed of traveling, working for a major news channel, or writing articles about important issues like women's rights and education. But sadly, that dream was cut short before it could come true. At the same college, there was a young man named Islam Mohammed Tartour, 22 years old, a mass communication student like Salma. From the outside, Islam seemed like any regular young man. He went to class, studied, and was trying to build his future. But on the inside, something was different. According to investigations later, Islam had feelings for Salma. He believed there was a romantic relationship between them, or at least he wanted there to be one. He dreamed of having Salma be part of his life. But Salma saw things differently. Like any girl, she had the right to choose what was best for her. She decided she didn't want to continue in any kind of relationship with Islam and that she wanted to focus on her studies and work. Islam, according to classmates, was usually a normal guy, but would become tense or emotional if someone mentioned Salma. Testimonies during the investigation revealed that Islam felt like Salma was everything to him. He claimed they were in a relationship and that she led him on, then left him. When Salma rejected him, he felt humiliated. Instead of accepting her decision, he began to feel anger and resentment. In his later testimony, he claimed that Salma accused him of being an unbeliever and that she tried everything to distance herself from him. He also said he wanted to stop her from working or hanging out with her friends because he loved her and was afraid for her. Of course, these are all his words because Salma wasn't there to defend herself. But what's clear is that the rejection drove Islam to start thinking about something very dangerous. In the weeks leading up to August 8, 2022, Islam began to show alarming signs. According to reports, he started posting threatening messages on Instagram through his stories. He wrote things like he would take revenge on those who rejected him, and that what was coming would be a lesson for anyone who dared to say no to him. He posted phrases like, "Whoever messes with me will pay the price," and "I won't let go of my rights." At the time, people who saw those stories didn't realize they were signals of an impending crime, but it was clear that Islam was planning something dangerous. According to his father's testimony in court later, Islam told him on August 1, 2022, a week before the crime, that he was going to kill Salma. His father said he tried to calm him down, telling him, "Think carefully, don't do something you'll regret." But Islam was determined, as if something inside him was controlling him. His father also testified that his son once tried to kill him because he refused to let him travel to Russia. He added that his son had been admitted to psychiatric hospitals multiple times, but he would always escape and never complete his treatment. Islam began tracking Salma's movements. He learned her exact schedule and found out that she was interning at a newspaper in Al-Zagazig, near Al-Zagazig Primary Court. He frequently went to the area, asked about her, and made sure she was there. According to eyewitnesses, including one who worked at a supermarket near Zidane Building, Islam had been frequenting the location days before the crime. He would show up in the morning, stare at the newspaper office, then leave. He spoke on the phone in a strange tone, and he had a tattoo on his arm that made him stand out. Another witness, also from the same supermarket, said that Islam's demeanor was suspicious, like he was nervous, but at the same time extremely focused. Islam decided he would carry out the crime in a public area, but one with a narrow spot like the entrance of Zidane Building, so people wouldn't be able to intervene quickly. Just hours before the crime, he posted on Instagram, "I swear by the seven heavens, I will shake the throne of God himself with the horror of your end." According to the investigation, he had a clear plan. Wait for her to be alone, then attack quickly. He brought a knife from home and hid it in his clothes. He knew this would be the weapon he would use. Reports stated that Islam had thought through all the details, how to keep people away from the scene and how to ensure no one could stop him. The plan was terrifyingly calculated, as if he were living in another world, a world that revolved entirely around his revenge. On August 8, 2022, everything came together. Islam went to the newspaper where Salma was interning early in the morning, around 9 a.m. He asked about her and found out she would finish work around 1 p.m. He waited on the street near Zidane Building, which Salma often passed by on her way to and from the newspaper office. He moved between the nearby supermarket and the building's entrance, trying not to appear suspicious. But his behavior drew attention. Mahmoud, who worked at the supermarket, said that Islam would come in to buy small items like water or juice while constantly glancing at the street. Tariq, his co-worker, said that Islam was talking on the phone in a loud voice, as if trying to calm himself down. Around 1 p.m., Salma left the newspaper. She was walking like any other normal day, heading toward Zidane Building. Islam saw her and quickly followed. He entered the building entrance behind her. And that's when the terrifying moment began. He pulled out a knife and started stabbing Salma. According to eyewitnesses, They said Salma screamed loudly, "Help me! Have mercy!" She tried to defend herself, but the stabs were too many and too fast. Medical reports later confirmed she was stabbed 17 times, mostly on the left side of her body. In a very strange moment, Islam was reportedly saying things like, "I love her," while he was stabbing her. People who heard the screaming ran to the scene, but there was complete chaos. People in the street tried to intervene. They hit Islam with a table to pull him away from Salma and tried to shut the building door to stop him from escaping. Islam was still holding the knife and tried to attack them, but the crowd grew larger and someone called the police. Security arrived within minutes, and the director of security of al-Sharqiya was present in person. Islam was arrested with the knife still in his hand. Salma, unfortunately, had already passed away. The ambulance took her to Al-Ahrar Hospital, but the doctors confirmed that she had died immediately due to the number of stab wounds. Her body was transferred to the hospital morgue, and an autopsy was conducted to determine the exact cause of death. That day, August 8, 2022, was a shock for everyone living in Al-Zagazig. People were stunned. A girl like Salma, who dreamed of becoming a journalist, to be taken in such a way. The street in front of Al-Zagazig Primary Court became a symbol of deep sorrow. People gathered at the site, talking about what happened, trying to understand why. The hashtag #Salma_Bahgat started trending on Twitter, and people wrote about their grief, their anger, and how this crime reminded them of the Naira Ashraf case, who was murdered in Al-Mansoura on June 20, 2022, in almost the same way. People began comparing the two cases, and there was a growing fear that such crimes were becoming more frequent. In Al-Zagazig, people spoke about Salma with sadness. They said she was a respectful girl, hard-working, and never hurt anyone. Some knew her from college, others had seen her at the newspaper office. Everyone was shocked that someone like her could meet such an end. At the same time, there was anger directed at Islam. People said he deserved the harshest punishment and that what he did was unforgivable. On social media, the case dominated the conversation. The hashtag #Salma_Bahgat became a trend in Egypt, and people posted about everything: their sorrow for Salma, their rage at Islam, and their fear that any girl could end up in Salma's place just for saying no. Some wrote about how society needs to change, how stronger laws are needed to protect women. Some demanded awareness programs in schools and universities, and others said families must get closer to their children so they can teach them how to deal with rejection. On August 11, 2022, the public prosecution immediately launched an investigation. The first thing they did was interrogate Islam Mohammed Tartour. Islam confessed that he killed Salma because she abandoned him. He said she accused him of being a non-believer, kafir, and that he wanted to control her life because he loved her. He also said he tried to stop her from working or seeing her friends, and that her rejection made him feel his dignity was shattered. The prosecution questioned him about the threatening messages he posted on Instagram, and he couldn't deny them. The stories were still there, and some people still remembered them. The prosecution collected those stories as evidence, which proved that Islam had the intent to kill long before the murder. The public prosecution assigned Al-Abasia Hospital for Mental Health to examine Islam's mental state. His lawyer tried to defend him by claiming that Islam was mentally ill, that he had been undergoing treatment for 10 years, and that he had excess electrical activity in the brain since birth. Islam's father also testified during the investigation. He said that his son was psychologically unwell and that on August 1, 2022, Islam told him he was going to kill Salma. The father said he tried to calm him down but didn't know how to stop him. However, The medical report from Al-Abasia Hospital was decisive. It confirmed that Islam was fully mentally competent at the time of the crime, and that any past addiction treatment or psychological issues had nothing to do with what he did. In other words, Islam knew exactly what he was doing. He planned it and waited for the right moment. The prosecution gathered a lot of evidence. The knife used by Islam was a strong piece of physical evidence. Eyewitness testimonies, like those of Mahmoud and Tariq, confirmed that Islam was the one who attacked Salma. Footage from surveillance cameras near the Zidane building, which the prosecution requested, showed Islam's movements before and after the crime. In addition, the threatening messages on Instagram were a crucial piece of digital evidence. The prosecution also interviewed people from the university. They also questioned Salma's family. Her father said that Islam had previously asked to marry Salma, but she rejected him because she didn't see him as suitable. He said that Salma was honest with Islam and had told him clearly that she didn't want any kind of relationship. Her family said that Salma had told them about how Islam was trying to pressure her, but she wasn't too afraid. She never imagined he would go this far. The public prosecution referred the case to the Al-Zaghazig Criminal Court on August 11, 2022, on charges of premeditated and intentional murder. The case progressed quickly, something people definitely noticed. In Al-Sharqiya and across all of Egypt, people followed every update closely. Some said Islam must receive the harshest punishment, while others tried to understand how a young man like him could reach this point. On September 4, 2022, the first court session took place at Al-Zaghazig Criminal Court. The session was filled with tension. Salma's family was present, demanding justice and retribution. During the session, Islam appeared strangely calm. When the judge asked him, "Did you kill Salma Bahgat?" he replied, "Yes," without hesitation. That answer shocked everyone present. It confirmed he felt no remorse. Islam's lawyer tried to defend him by using the mental illness argument. He claimed that Islam had been undergoing treatment for 10 years, that he suffered from a psychological condition at the time of the crime, and that he had excess brain electricity since birth. He also said Islam was on psychiatric medication, but the medical report from Al-Abasia was definitive. The prosecution presented strong evidence: the knife, the threatening messages, and eyewitness testimonies. Even Islam's own father, when questioned, said that his son had told him he was going to kill Salma, but he didn't know how to stop him. The court sessions were intense, and the public eagerly awaited the verdict. From September to November 2022, the trial continued. Each session revealed new details. In Al-Zaghazig, the case became a constant topic. From the streets to social media, some said Islam was insane, others said he was a cold-blooded killer. But the evidence was clear. Islam planned, stalked, and executed. The threatening messages on Instagram proved he had intent to kill from early on. Eyewitnesses described how they tried to stop Islam and how determined he was in what he was doing. Even the officer who arrested him said Islam was still holding the knife and trying to threaten anyone who came near. On November 7, 2022, the Al-Zaghazig Criminal Court delivered its verdict. The judge, after consulting with the Grand Mufti of Egypt, sentenced Islam Mohammed Tartour to death by hanging. That moment marked a turning point. Salma's family, who were present in court, felt that justice had finally begun. But the pain still lingered. On the streets and on social media, people discussed the verdict. Some said the death sentence was fair retribution, while others felt it wasn't enough to prevent similar crimes from happening again. the hashtag #Salma_Bahgat began trending once more, with people expressing their grief and anger and demanding stronger laws to protect women. Islam had the right to appeal the verdict before the Court of Cassation. According to Egyptian law, he had to file the appeal before January 6, 2023. But no confirmed reports indicated whether the appeal was filed or what happened afterward. What's clear is that, in the eyes of many, the death sentence became final and the case was legally closed. However, this case sparked a much broader conversation. Reports linked it to the growing issue of violence against women in Egypt. People began asking, why should a girl like Salma pay the price for saying no? Why do young men like Islam think love gives them the right to control a woman's life? People began talking about how society puts pressure on both young men and women. Some said the lack of religious upbringing was the cause, while others said the culture that makes a man feel insulted by a woman's rejection is what leads to these kinds of crimes. Reports from outlets like CNN Arabic and Al Etihad discussed how cases like Salma Bahgat and Naira Ashraf reveal a deeper societal issue. People began calling for more awareness, both in schools and universities, so that young people can learn that love isn't about possession and that rejection is a natural part of life. Salma's family, like any family, was in deep mourning. Her father, in a statement to Al Dostor, said that his daughter had always dreamed of becoming a journalist and that she was working hard on herself. They believed she was going to be someone great. But this crime robbed them of their daughter. On the other side, Islam's family was in a difficult position. His father, as he said in court, felt guilty for not being able to stop his son, but at the same time he tried to defend him, claiming he was mentally unwell. However, the medical reports were clear, and there was no evidence that Islam was mentally unstable at the time of the crime. The case of Salma Bahgat was not the only one of its kind. People started comparing it to the case of Naira Ashraf, who was murdered in Al-Mansura on June 20, 2022, by her university colleague after she rejected him. There was also the case of Amani in Al-Manufia, who was killed in almost the same way. These three cases made people feel like there was a recurring pattern. A girl rejects a relationship. The boy feels his pride is wounded, and he decides to take revenge. People began asking, what makes these young men think this way? Is it society? Is it their upbringing? Is it social media, which makes young people feel like they need to appear powerful? Journalistic reports said these crimes reflect a cultural issue. There's a mindset that makes a guy feel like if a girl rejects him, it's an insult he must respond to. Some said social media worsens the problem because young people are exposed to distorted portrayals of love and relationships in movies and shows. Others said it's the absence of parental guidance, with parents being too busy and distant from their children. In the end, the story of Salma Bahgat is a lesson for all of us. Salma was just like any girl in Egypt. She wanted to live her life, chase her dreams, and become someone great. But her decision to say no to a relationship she didn't want made her pay a very heavy price. Islam Muhammad Tartur, on the other hand, had a choice. He could have accepted the rejection and walked away. But he chose a different path, one that made him lose everything and made Salma's family lose their daughter. This case reminds us that we need to be closer to our children, teach them right from wrong, help them understand their emotions, and protect our daughters by every means possible through laws, awareness, and education. We must teach young people that love is not possession and that rejection is not the end of the world. We need to build a society that respects people's choices and protects them from violence. We need to be a society that gives hope to every girl like Salma so she can achieve her dreams without fear. And with that, today's episode comes to an end. If it's your first time watching the channel, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss anything new. See you in the next episode. Goodbye.